Okay, so picture this. You're on a quiet beach. It's getting dark, end of summer kind of vibe. Really peaceful.
Yeah, sounds nice.
Then suddenly, this red light just streaks across the sky. It looks like a plane, maybe, but it's falling, like, fast.
Right.
And it crashes right into the ocean, just off the shore. You wait a few minutes, and then someone climbs out of the water.
From the crash.
Yeah, and it's a boy wearing this weird white suit, but he's totally dry.
Dry after being in the ocean.
Completely dry.
Yeah.
And he's got this shiny gold thing on his chest, like a heart with wings. And he seems fine. Not hurt, not scared.
That's bizarre.
Totally.
Yeah.
And then you kind of hesitate, but you ask him,
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you, like,
Yeah.
from somewhere else?
And he just calmly says yes. He's an extraterrestrial.
Wow, that's quite the opening scene. It sounds like pure sci-fi.
It does. But this whole story, it comes from a book, Ami, Child of the Stars, by Enrique Barrios. And it's not really about, space battles or anything. Right? It goes deeper, doesn't it? It apparently gets to some really big philosophical ideas, spiritual lessons almost. All through this kid, Ami, talking to the narrator, Peter.
Exactly. So that's what we want to do in this deep dive. Really get into this account, pull out the main ideas.
Yeah.
Stuff about universal laws, evolution, reality itself, all from this visitor's point of view.
And figure out why this encounter supposedly happened. Why Peter?
Yeah, let's dig in.
Okay, so it starts, like you said, quiet beach, then boom, falling light, crash. And this mysterious boy appears.
Uh-huh. Shorter than Peter, looks younger. That weird white suit, thick boots, the winged heart symbol. And he talks kind of funny, an odd accent. Silent at first.
And he has that weird calculator thing.
Yeah, which turns out to be way more than a calculator. But first, Peter asks the big question. Are you an extraterrestrial?
And gets a calm yes. That must have been mind-blowing.
Totally. Then the name thing. His real name is super long, Ami Shimshima or something. Means friend. So Peter just calls him Ami.
Simple enough. And straight away, Ami knows things he shouldn't write.
Right. He's like, oh, the plane wasn't wrecked. Knows Peter's grandma is asleep back home. It's uncanny.
And the belfuckle. That's the interpreter device. Reads Peter's mind to understand him.
Yeah. Instantly translates just by reading his thoughts. And later we find out it's also like a super advanced TV screen.
Wild. So, okay, Ami starts sharing his perspective on Earth.
Yeah.
And us.
And it's honestly not exactly glowing. He calls us a little bit crazy.
Huh. What crazy? What's his reasoning?
Well, he points out stuff that, from his viewpoint, just makes no sense. Like humans making war on other humans. Destroying our own planet. He says other species just don't do that.
It's illogical, basically.
Yeah. And Peter, naturally, gets worried about invasion, like in the movies.
Of course, the classic fear. How does Ami handle that?
He just waves it off. Calls it cosmic paranoia. Says those evil invader stories are just products of our own monstrous imagination, fueled by fear.
Cosmic paranoia, I like that. But, okay, if there are advanced beings out there, maybe some not-so-nice ones, why aren't they a threat? That's the big question.
This is maybe one of the most interesting points Ami makes. He talks about universal filters.
Filters, like what?
Not physical walls, more like universal laws. Principles. They apparently stop civilizations that haven't evolved spiritually or morally enough from, getting too far, from traveling between stars easily.
So it's not just about having spaceships, it's about maturity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ami says the main reason we don't have to worry about invasion from really advanced civilizations is this. If a civilization gets super smart scientifically, but they still have a low level of what he calls solidarity.
Which means love. Kindness.
Yeah, rooted in love, affection, kindness. If they lack that, they basically self-destruct before they ever get advanced enough for interstellar travel on a large scale.
Ah, okay. So the lack of love is the, ultimate check.
Pretty much. He says it's way easier to figure out how to make bombs than it is to build ships that cross galaxies. So if you don't have that solidarity, that love, you end up using your smarts against yourselves.
You blow yourselves up first.
Long before you can go bother anyone else.
Yeah. Okay, that makes a weird kind of sense. But he does mention some scary worlds exist, right? Primitive monster worlds.
He does. He acknowledges that, yeah, truly monstrous or dangerous beings exist out there, but they're stuck on worlds far more primitive than Earth. Technologically, they haven't even invented the wheel.
So zero threat of them showing up here.
None at all. They're just stuck on their own difficult planets.
So bringing it back to Earth, all our problems, war, pollution, unhappiness, Ami traces it all back to one thing.
Yep. According to him, it all comes down to that lack of solidarity, that missing ingredient, that lack of love and connection is the root of basically all human suffering and dysfunction.
Okay. Now, Ami himself, he shows off some pretty cool abilities.
Oh, yeah. He helps Peter feel what it's like to fly, like being a bird, just through thought, reads minds easily, and that belt buckle thing.
The super cyber.
Right. It acts like this amazing screen. Super clear. He even shows Peter clips from old Space Invader movies, kind of making fun of the whole idea.
That's funny. But why do these advanced beings even bother showing up at all, even subtly? What's the point of the sightings?
Ami explains that sightings, especially after the first atomic bomb, are like a subtle medicine for Earth.
Medicine?
Yeah. Information in small doses. Proof that advanced life exists. And it's not aggressive. It's like a gentle nudge, suggesting maybe we don't have to be so violent.
But why so subtle? Why not just land, say hello properly?
Well, he gives a few reasons. Landing openly would probably cause mass panic. Governments would freak out, maybe start wars.
Huge military buildup.
Exactly. And maybe worse, it could become like a drug. People might just wait for aliens to fix everything instead of dealing with their own problems.
An avoidance drug, he calls it.
Yeah. The point isn't for them to save us. It's to encourage us to use the knowledge we already have, all the books, the teachings, a lot of which Ami implies was subtly inspired by them over ages to sort ourselves out.
Makes sense. Solve our own problems.
He mentions other subtle ways, too, like telepathy to sensitive people and sometimes contacting specific individuals like Peter.
Right, and this ties back to that solidarity filter idea again, doesn't it? About giving advanced tech to people who aren't ready.
Absolutely. Ami really stresses this. You cannot give powerful knowledge like some super energy source he mentions to civilizations that are still violent and haven't evolved spiritually.
Because they just misuse it for war or conquest.
Or even cause some kind of cosmic disaster by accident. It's like giving a loaded gun to a toddler, basically. You need the wisdom and love first.
Which leads to his whole concept of the level of evolution. It's not just biology.
No, it's more like a spiritual or moral scale.
Yeah.
He uses measures. Like a beast might be low, an angel high. He gives examples. A hunter, maybe 750 measures. A bear, 200. A fish, 50.
And where does Ami put himself? And humans?
He says he's around 760. And he notes some rare people on Earth are already at 800 or even higher.
Wow. And this level is tied to how balanced we are inside.
That's the idea. He talks about two main centers. The intellectual one, logic, reason, practical stuff. And the emotional one, feelings, intuition, wisdom, and crucially, love.
And you need both working together.
Exactly. True intelligence, real wisdom, comes when they're in harmony. When your intellect serves your heart, serves that higher understanding of love and truth.
So what happens if they're out of whack?
Big problems. If intellect dominates without love, you get intelligent evil. Smart, capable, but ruthless. Destructive. He mentions the rulers of Atlantis near the end being like that.
Okay. And the other way. Too much emotion, not enough intellect.
Then you get well-intentioned but foolish. You might mean well, but you're easily tricked or manipulated because you lack discernment.
Balance is key. He also talks about pride versus humility, doesn't he?
Yeah, he sees arrogant pride, vanity, as something that literally shuts off your connection to your inner light, to truth. Humility is essential. He even says that the supreme intelligence God is profoundly humble.
That's interesting. There's that bit where Ami hypnotizes some policemen.
Oh yeah, so they forget seeing him and Peter. It's quick, but Ami uses it as a metaphor.
A metaphor for Earth's general state.
Exactly. He says most people on Earth are basically hypnotized by fear of life, of loss, of enemies, ghosts, even ETs. Hypnotized by materialism, by false beliefs, like thinking it's okay to kill for God or country.
Wow. So we're kind of sleepwalking through life.
That's the implication. We're trapped in these illusions, unable to see the beauty and potential all around us.
And the opposite of that state, being awakened.
Yeah. The awakened person sees life as beautiful, even the challenges. They see difficulties as lessons, chances to grow. They focus on improving themselves, not judging others.
And underlying all this, the structure of reality itself is this fundamental law, cause and effect.
The boomerang effect, he calls it. Whatever you put out, thoughts, actions, energy comes back to you, period.
So suffering isn't punishment from God.
Not according to Ami. It's more like feedback. A learning tool. It helps you understand the consequences of your actions. Like if you cause pain, eventually you experience something that helps you feel what that pain was like, so you learn not to do it again.
But he also says some suffering isn't payback, right? Some is designed to make you stronger.
Right. Some challenges are apparently set up to build your inner strength, maybe prepare you for something important you need to do later. It's not all karmic debt.
Okay, so then things shift, and Ami actually takes Peter for a ride in the spaceship.
Yeah. The ship sounds cool. Egg-shaped, silent, kind of greenish, silver, and glowing. Run by the super cyber.
And the travel is instantaneous.
Pretty much. They go thousands of feet, huge distances in a blink. No feeling of movement, no G-forces, just there.
How does that work? And invisibility.
Amami gives a simple explanation for invisibility, speeding up the ship's molecules so fast, it's like a spinning bike wheel, just becomes transparent. But he says its visibility is actually controlled by the aid plan via the computer.
So they choose when to be seen. He jokes about an invisible Venusian passenger too, right?
Yeah, just to mess with Peter a bit.
So where do they go? They look at Earth.
They do. Get an amazing view of Mumbai, the crowds, the culture. And they pop over to the moon, too.
What's the moon like up close?
Kind of bleak, apparently. Desolate, gloomy, not as inspiring as it looks from down here.
And Ami uses the screen to show Peter how people on Earth react to seeing the ship.
Yeah, this is really interesting. They see these two guys who immediately think the ship is like gods or angels, and they start praying.
And Ami's reaction?
He refuses to interact, says you can't exploit people's ignorance like that. Help has to be indirect, like the book Peter will write.
Smart. What else do they see?
They also tune in on a scientist who's busy proving ETs don't exist, using all his fancy equipment. Right while Ami's ship is hovering nearby.
Oh, the irony.
Ami thinks it's hilarious. More cosmic paranoia. The scientist is literally in the phenomenon he's denying.
Classic. Okay, so after Earth and the moon, they go somewhere much further. Ophir.
Yes, a distant planet. Ami says you need a noble intention just to be able to travel there. And it sounds incredible.
How so? What's it like?
Totally different from Earth. No big cities. It's covered in gorgeous multicolored plants, crystal clear lakes, rivers. Buildings are weird shapes like domes and pyramids used for research. Even planets and stars are evolving there, Ami says.
And the people, the Ophirians.
They're described as tall, slender, descendants from Atlantis, actually, sharing roots with old Earth cultures. But the main thing is their vibe. Super calm, relaxed, friendly, always hugging, touching, showing affection openly, just happy.
And they live without money or owning things.
Totally. No money, no private property. If you need something, you just ask society and it gets delivered by machines or someone helps out. Stuff like spaceships are shared, like a park bench. Owning things just isn't a concept. It's seen as unhealthy.
Well, what do they do all day? Is there work?
Oh, yeah, they work. But it's work they choose and love. Supervising machines, creating art, helping other worlds. Sometimes they work nonstop because they're so into it. Total freedom, but aimed at the common good.
And no crime, no police, no prisons?
None. Because they genuinely love each other like family. They feel the law of cause and effect. Hurting someone else is hurting yourself. So why would they? Plus, the planet itself is harmonious.
Yeah.
No predators, no mosquitoes. They're vegetarians.
Wow, sounds like paradise. Do they have spiritual practices?
They do. They can levitate, even fly, apparently lifted by the power of love. They do exercises to raise their evolution level even higher. Ami mentions even more advanced beings, solar beings who live in stars.
Solar beings, okay.
Yeah.
And they see some kind of performance, interplanetary fellowship.
Yeah, in this huge stadium. Beings from many different planets put on a show together. It's all about unity, solidarity. That winged heart symbol is everywhere. No competition, just harmony. Ami mentions that good Earth music and art are actually collected in other galaxies because art is a universal language of love.
That's amazing. And Ami can tap into universal records. See the past.
Yeah, he says there's like a satellite network holding the records of everything that's ever happened everywhere. Every action, every thought, recorded forever.
Mind-boggling. Which really brings us back to the absolute core message Ami wants to get across.
The big one, the most fundamental law, the ultimate reality, is love. What we call God, he says, is love.
And it's not just a feeling or an idea for him.
No, he really stresses this. Love is a real, tangible energy. A physical force almost. It's the most vital thing in the universe, the thing all worlds need most, the very fabric of reality and evolution.
And wisdom comes from combining knowledge with that love.
Exactly. Intellect serving the heart. To really experience love, to act from love, is to experience God. Nothing is higher than love. God is love. Spirituality is just experiencing and sharing that energy.
So how does this apply back here to Earth? Does Ami offer any hope for us?
Definitely. He says things are changing. Earth is apparently generating more subtle, positive energy now. There's potential for a big evolutionary leap. People are instinctively searching for something better, talking more about peace and love. He says the universe is basically on the side of love. It supports this shift.
He mentions a backup plan, too. A shelter planet.
Yeah, a place being prepared to rescue people who've reached a certain level if a major catastrophe happens here. But he insists destruction isn't inevitable at all. It depends on us choosing to live differently, choosing solidarity.
Peter also has this intense vision, the Blue Princess thing.
Right, it's like a super vivid, high-level experience. Gives him this deep knowing about things like past lives, soulmates, life after death. Ami says Peter needed that direct push to really understand and believe it all so he could write the book with conviction.
Got it. The journey ends, they come back.
Just as the sun rises, Peter sees Earth with totally new eyes, its beauty. Ami gives him this super nap. 15 seconds feels like hours of rest.
And Ami leaves him with a final message, a mission.
Yeah, pretty much sums it all up. Love is the path to happiness. Work for peace. Work on yourself. Say no to violence. Remember the boomerang. Simple, but huge.
And Peter's job is to write the book.
That's his mission, his contribution to the aid plan. Just a grain of sand, Ami calls it, but meant to share these ideas, especially with young people who might be more open to a new way of thinking.
And the symbol, Peter draws the winged heart in the sand.
He does, and Ami looks at it and just says, that is the Earth. And Peter feels something, like a circle being drawn around his own heart. A deep connection.
And there's a little souvenir left over, too?
Yeah, the fruit from Ophir, these extraterrestrial walnuts. Peter shares them with his grandma, and she actually likes them. And then there's the mark left on the rock.
The winged heart etched into the stone on the beach. A permanent reminder.
So yeah, we've covered a lot here. This incredible story of contact, the ideas about universal laws, love, evolution, that subtle aid plan.
And that central theme running through everything. Love isn't just nice, it's fundamental. It's the law of the universe, the key to happiness, the engine of evolution for everyone and every world.
So, thinking about all this, what can you, listening right now, take away? Does that idea of cause and effect ring true for you? How does that balance of intellect and emotion, head and heart, show up in your own life? What does that winged heart symbol mean to you thinking about connection?
And maybe sit with this thought from Ami for a bit. What does it really mean if everything that any person has done at any given moment is recorded forever? Or how might your view change if you really believed that nothing happens by chance? The universe is the reflection of a perfect, superior order.